discussion today on services is the significant systems integration business we do in Amdocs that we hope at the end of this discussion you'll get additional visibility into how our portfolio of services in general, and specifically our consulting and SI work, allows us to respond to the trends and big things that Alistair mentioned carriers want to do in the marketplace. So I'm very excited to be here. Obviously, being in Singapore is always great. When I heard we had such wonderful attendance, I was very heartfelt and thankful about your time. We've got about an hour in the segment that we three are going to cover. My part will be a little bit of an intro, and hopefully we'll take on the right pace. But along the way, we're hoping that we get high levels of interaction and questions. And I can tell you from just sitting in the back and hearing your interaction with Alistair was quite magnificent. So for that, I thank you. Just by way of background, today there are about 20,500 people in Amdocs. We're not all here in Singapore. We're around the world doing good work. And those 20,500 people, a significant percent are in what we call services. About a year ago, and in Amdocs, as you'll hear from Yoav and others, we've always provided services around our technology, going back to literally 31 or so years when we first founded ourselves. We didn't just sell our software and say good luck. We stayed on and provided services to help customers get full implementation and best value. But over a year ago, we decided to take three separate organizations, the Consulting Division, our Managed Services and Outsourcing Division, of which you'll hear a lot more from Yoav, and our core delivery function, which is our core machinery for delivering our projects. And we put them together under what we now call the Services Business Group of Amdocs. Not borrowing too much from our friends at IBM, but it's a little bit akin to IBM creating IBM services, if you can get a sense as to the strategic import and the customer value that represents to have a portfolio of services that give customers access to what we're going to talk about. So I wanted to give you that context. So I stand before you with Yoav. We're about 2/3 of Amdocs services. I'm not going to go into too many details because Alistair does such a powerful job really bringing home what's happening in industry, what's driving the opportunities and worries of our customers, and what are the big trends we have to deal with, and not only the interesting times about data mining that goes on in the world. And what we find, again, very well connected to hopefully what Alistair has covered, is that we tend to think about the world in like 3 to 5 year chunks. Years ago, when I was very young in my career, started at AT&T, worked at Verizon, and then Vodafone before Amdocs, we used to build these long-term plans. We would obsess about building these long-term strategic models that mapped out the world 10 years from now and thought we could really predict it well. But things move so fast that today, we tend to think about things in 3 to 5 year chunks because, 10 years ago, we would have this meeting and never mention the word Facebook. We would have talked about companies like MySpace that we don't even talk about anymore. So the world changes so quickly. So 3 to 5 years is about all I can deal with, and frankly, I have enough trouble dealing with my 3 sons, let alone 3 years. So we see a continued evolution on the left side of all the things that Alistair highlighted, and whether it's dealing with the powerful realm of connected devices, creating both risk and opportunities for carriers to make sure in this highly connected world, carriers don't want to be disintermediated. They love Facebook on one hand, on the other hand they worry about Facebook, and they obsess about why was Mark Zuckerberg meeting with Samsung without wearing a hoodie. He had a suit and tie on meeting with Samsung. And if you're a carrier, that matters as to where is Facebook going. Are they trying to get so close to Samsung that they don't need you? Then what happens to your network? Are they trying to get so close to your customer that the customer doesn't need you? What happens to your network? Is Google trying to build a mobile company? What happens to your relationship with Google? Should you continue to give them space on your landing page when you open up your smartphone? So this is huge opportunity and risk. Now the center is what's really key, because even with all those risks, whether it's the risk of commoditization, the risk of disintermediation, or the execution risk of still trying to grow your business and build ARPU, you've got to make big investments. And what we're seeing is just tremendous investments, whether it's literally tens of billions of dollars a year, if not quarter, in big data infrastructure. As we move from 3G to 4G, that's huge investment. And all those investments must be returned on and monetized. So that's a big driver of why carriers will turn to us to say, don't just give us a new system. Enable us going into new businesses. Enable us to compete against disintermediation. Enable us to add ARPU when markets are maturing as they get above 130% penetration. So the central column is really key. Now on the right side, this is where it gets really exciting. Virtualization and contextualization matters in 2 respects. When people think about virtualization, they often focus on the infrastructure layer, and y'all will talk about what we do there, because in so many cases, and we are very excited by this, companies are outsourcing infrastructure and operations management to us. And when they outsource it to us, they don't just want us to take over and manage it as it was. They want to make it better. And so you'll hear from Yoav how we literally do that work in a managed services and operational context. But at the same time, there's this huge realm created by video. And you see the first bullet point about TV going all IP. So if we thought for the last couple of years that the insatiable demand for video on every device and the consumption of bandwidth behind it was powerful and shaking, imagine what it's going to be when literally every TV-like device, every bit of content is fully IP enabled. So this explosion in the consumption of video, it's not going to go away. It's not. And all this network coming online with 4G, trust me, my 3 sons are ready to consume every bit of the network you give them, and they'll attach video to everything, text messages, emails, every communication. I watch them do their reports. They're embedding live video in their reports. It's magnificent for me and their grades. It's a challenge for Verizon and AT&T trying to carry my son's traffic. So these are the trends that are at the backdrop of what drives opportunities and risks for carriers, and based on those opportunities and risks, they turn to folks like us to say, help us deal with them. Mitigate risk, mine opportunities, and grow our business. So, in this always connected windmill world, these are the things that I mentioned earlier driving carriers. And everything is creating data, and all that data must be collected, stored, sorted, and made ready for use. And again, a little bit of a plug, at 2 p.m., we'll give a deep dive on data, big data and analytics. So just trying to get you excited by that.